Mike. Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 930 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Chef Drop, access top chef and restaurant prepared meal kits shipped across Southern Ontario. Buy one, get one 50% off with the promo code FOTMBOGO. McKay CEO Forums, the highest impact and least time-intensive peer group for over 1,200 CEOs, executives, and business owners around the world. StickerU.com. Create custom stickers, labels, tattoos, and decals for your home and your business. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921, and Mike Majeski of Remax Specialists Majeski Group, who's ripping up the GTA real estate scene. Learn more at realestatелove.ca. I'm Mike from TorontoMike.com, and joining me this week, returning to the program, is Scott with 1T Turner.
Hello, hello.
Scott, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled. And did Peter Mansbridge sit here?
No, because he zoomed in, actually.
Oh,
very disappointing
okay.
not to get the bridge back here.
I thought because this was yesterday, and I haven't
Yeah.
listened to the show yet.
Right.
Do you ask him about his weather girlfriend? Do you know about that story?
No, tell me.
Well, do you not know about that? He had this weather girl he used to flirt with on the air all the time, and it was so obvious, right? It was like, get a room and sort of thing. It's a true story. Anyway.
Oh, man. See, I needed that info before. I would just make the whole
All right.
hour about the weather girlfriend. But he's on wife number 3, so I felt like maybe, you know.
Maybe
'cause he had
that
the
had something to do with
starter
it.
wife.
Okay.
Then he had Wendy Mesley.
Oh, yeah, right.
And now he has Cynthia Dale.
Okay.
So, you know.
He's in the 3 club like me.
So you've been married 3 times?
Yes.
Okay, because
Very happily now, I should add.
yeah, you have to add that caveat because then we'll be wondering who's lucky number 4.
No more. No more.
I think you're lucky. I'm going to tell you. Well, like today I saw you, and every time I see you, I get warm feelings. Like there's Scott Turner. He knows his shit. He's a great guest, but he's a good human being.
Oh,
but
thank
today
you.
I felt like extra happy to see you because I feel like we almost you almost became like the first Toronto Mike guest to die.
That's a funny honor.
Like someone's got to be the first. It hasn't happened yet. Not over almost what are we 9+ years? It hasn't happened yet. But I have a 90-year-old who's a guest. Like at some point, this will inevitably. That's Brian McFarlane. But yourself, who's not near 90, and we're going to talk about your biking. Like you're a fit guy. Can we open with the true tale of your quadruple?
I know.
I think Homer Simpson had a triple. Quadruple bypass. Tell me everything, man.
Yeah, you know, when somebody asked me whether is that the max. I think there's one more. I think you can go to quintuple. What's 5?
Yeah, quint.
Quintuple.
Right. Because the quintuplets, the famous 5 children. I can't remember the full story, but in Quebec or whatever. But yeah.
Quadruple bypass. So this is bizarre. So the story, and I'll kind of keep this as short as I can. And I lost my job, fired, or as they like to say in radio, I was how do you say? What did they say? Repurposed? No, they have a name for it.
You became a redundancy?
Restructured. So, I was out of a job. And you know, this is a funny thing in this business because sometimes they do things like that. Even though you're successful, I had brought the station their best ratings in 10 years. And things were going really good, and sometimes things change, and they have to
before we get to the heart
story,
I've never worked in radio. I just play one on the internet. But I guess I'm curious because when I look at your career, I really do. I see, the CFNY and I see the Energy 108, and there's full episodes, by the way, in the archives of just Scott talking about these eras. And then there's the Flow, and basically everywhere you go, you do something wonderful. and you're awesome at what you do. Like
Not
for my
always,
money,
but thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I skip a few then. But for my money, like if I'm starting a radio station, I'm phoning Scott Turner. And I don't understand how, if you can't keep your gig and you're also responsible, like you're not like, Scruff Connors style, like you're sleeping in and not showing up for work or whatever. So what is it about radio that does that to quality people who do great jobs?
I don't know. I do stand up for things, and I can be a little outspoken.
That's what it is.
You're
not a controllable asset.
Yeah, I suppose so. That may be part of it. Yeah, I suppose. But anyway, so I had some time off, right? So I'm restructured. I have some time off.
Right.
So there's part of me that's going, damn. But there's the other part of me going, cycling.
Yeah.
Right?
That would be my first thing.
I got to go out cycling more, and which I did. And I did more cycling, and I was doing a fantastic year. And then this was not just this past summer, but the previous summer.
2020.
I'm out doing some rides, and I'm doing some great rides. Like I did a couple of 100K rides.
Yeah.
I did 100K at an average speed of 27K. Now,
that's amazing.
that's not bad. And I'm 60 at the time. I'm 61 now.
You know what? You look great for 61.
Thank you very much. So,
all these compliments coming your way.
Send money.
This is
to
why you
Mike.
visit. You don't come for the lasagna, the beer, the chef drop. You're coming for the
Oh,
compliment.
I like it all. It's all good. It gets to good use. Anyway, so I'm doing these rides, and that where I am in Hilly, Halliburton. Halton. I'm in Halton, so
Okay.
it's a little hillier there. So I did a 100K ride that had about 700 meters of climbing. So it's a good at 27. And average speed's not a bad pace. Anyway,
It's actually, just from a guy who does what you're describing, that's incredible.
well, it's not incredible, but it's not bad.
Well, okay, I don't know
Right.
what kind of bike you ride, but on my bike,
Well, I do have a nice bike.
right, but I can tell you I would be proud of myself if I did 24 clicks an hour average on that ride. I'd be very proud
that's a
of you. And
decent
you're
average.
up. You're
Yeah.
up, though. That's
Anyway,
good.
so doing some great rides and everything, but I'm starting to feel something's not right. And it's just like an inflammation I'm feeling. It felt like just the breathing.
You can't get your breath?
Well, no, it was just like, I'm just my lungs feel inflamed a little bit. That's what it felt like, right?
Okay.
So but I complete the rides, so I'm doing other rides. And again, I'm feeling this funny thing. So I go to, because my regular doctor wasn't available, I go into a walk-in clinic. I said, I'm feeling this thing. And she goes, you know what? You might have asthma and exercise-induced asthma.
Okay.
So she gave me a puffer, which is a popular thing. Not
Sure.
a popular thing, but a common thing. So she gives me a puffer, and I check that out, and still it's happening. Nothing's really working out the way I wanted it to. So I go to my regular doctor. We have a conversation, and here's the story: is I have a history of high cholesterol, right? It's in the family.
Okay.
So she says, let's just, so we can rule it out, so it's nothing to do with the heart, let's send you to a cardiologist, and just for sure. So that's where it started, a series of tests. And some tests were okay. And then my cardiologist said, I went to a stress test at the hospital, and he said, there were some warning signs there at the stress test, but we need to find out for sure. Right. So we're going to send you for an angiogram. Have you heard of this thing? Angiogram. So what they do is they stick a tube up one of your veins in your arm.
Oh, I was wondering where you were going to go there.
Way
up something.
Way
but
up your
okay.
arm, and they shoot a dye into your whole artery and vein system, and so they can tell if there's any blockages. Right?
Cool.
Right.
Yeah, cool.
So I said, okay, we'll go for that test. And the whole time I'm reading up on, and I'm thinking, they're going to want to stick a stent in me, which is quite common that people have some blockages. And it's this little thing they stick inside.
Ralph Benmergui got one.
Okay, yeah, and they kind of open up the artery a little bit. So if there's
it prevents the heart attack.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
And they put it, or if there's a kind of an area that has some plaque, they put it in that area. It opens up, the artery a little bit, so blood can flow better, right?
Right.
And I'm terrified of this, right? I'm reading up on, they're going to try to, and usually when they do the angiogram test, if they find a blockage, that's when they stick the stent in there, right? I'm like, damn, it's going to happen. So I'm really, really scared and annoyed and all the rest, because I don't like anything invasive, right?
Right.
Anyway, long story short, I go to the hospital, they do the and you're awake for this thing, by the way. Which is, it hurts. And, but they do give you some sedative, right? Okay. And at one point I'm like, yeah, and he's more sedative, right? So I'm a bit of a suck that way.
Right.
Anyways, long story short, they wheel me out back in, And I'm sitting there, and the guy comes with the whole thing, and he's taking his mask off and everything. He says, "Yeah, Scott, it's not good. The good news is the the heart surgeon is here. You're going to need heart surgery. He's here right. He happens to be here right now. Dr. LeMay. He's going to come and see you." Wow. And basically, he said, "Scott, you've got one artery blocked at 90%, two at 80%, one at 50%."
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were still doing the 100-kilometer ride.
Yes.
Like
yes.
that means you're a super athlete.
Yeah. So, well, I was still riding. Well, not quite. I was still riding at this point, and the doctor said, "You need to stop immediately."
Right.
You need to stop immediately.
Is that because, like, literally your next ride, you could have just fallen off your bike with a heart attack and died?
Possibly.
Wow.
Possibly, yeah. Now, they say, the whole thing was that I was in good shape. The heart was in good shape. I just had these blockages, and it's all family history. Look, at that point last summer, I've been 35 years vegan.
Right.
Never a smoker. I've been cycling the last 12 years and that. It's all family history. It's family history.
Yeah, there's nothing you could have done to avoid this. It's not like you had a quarter pounder with cheese diet, and people will say, "Well, what did you expect was going to happen?" Because you're definitely you're thin. Yeah. You're. I just remembered you're a vegan, which is good because I'm going to give you $75 to spend at chefdrop.ca, and they have vegan meals that will be sent to your home, which is awesome. But and I'm going to have to owe you the lasagna from Palma Pasta because I realize I only have meat lasagna in the freezer right now.
That's okay. I have a wife at home that will
she'll
love
eat the
that.
meat lasagna?
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
Good.
Yes.
So you get the chef drop, which will be the vegan meal, and she gets the lasagna, which has lots of beef in it. Okay,
right.
please, yeah. But they did the surgery. So what if, here's my thought on this, is that you're doing these very lengthy, in 27 clicks an hour, and you're going up the hills and everything. You could have easily ignored the symptoms and just said, "Oh, it's because I'm 61 years old and I'm doing something that less than 1% of people can actually do, which is go for a 27-kilometer an hour, 100K ride."
Well, I was at just short of 4,000 kilometers before the cardiologist said you have to stop cycling, Scott.
For the calendar year?
Yeah. So that was
You're talking
September.
to one of those less than 1% people who does measure every ride.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, I do, yeah. I'm nowhere near where you're at. I have a buddy, Jason Wood, who he was part of the Better Days rave company in the 90s.
Oh, cool.
And he's done like 7,000K this year already.
I can
Amazing.
check it in 2 seconds.
You're probably
here.
at 4 or 5, aren't you?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, actually. I do measure every ride. This is very important to people that I do this. I'm going to just
While you look that up, I'll give you my current stats. Nobody cares, but I'm at 2,300 so far this year. But just under 4,000 meters climbed.
No, the climbing.
Haley
I do.
Halton.
I know because I switched because my hybrid bike needs a part I can't find right now, and I switched.
Yes.
I bought a Fuji Feather, which is single speed.
Nice.
So I'm actually avoiding the really steep hills. I can do hills, I just can't do the crazy steep ones.
It's hard to get bikes, period.
What's going on? I know.
I'm still waiting for my bike. I ordered it in February.
Amazing.
I get it March 22nd.
I told that story because I almost have the same length of weight just for a part, but okay. Yearly, here I'm looking at it now. Quickly, This is quickly, and this means this is boring everybody. They want to get back to your heart. But it's just loading up the stats. This is the yearly bike stats. If this ever, here it goes. Okay. I'm sitting at, for 2021, here we are. This is October 13th, 8,500.63 kilometers.
Yes.
So I'm at 8,500. And
that's awesome.
So last year, and I did take 6 weeks off because I broke my wrist last year, and I took 6 weeks off. But I finished up just a hair under 9,000 clicks. And I'm just going to go back to 2018, which is my all-time record, when I biked 10,937 kilometers that calendar year.
That's fantastic. That really is.
No, you're fantastic. Yeah, I guess we could just pat each other on the back for our cycling here. But you do what you do, and I don't do because of my I don't have the time. So I do a daily ride, and it's usually about 80 minutes or 90 minutes, and it's about 30K or so. And then I like what you do, which I wish I had the time for, which is you go out for a long ride. I wish I could say, okay, I'm going to bike for the next 5 hours.
Yeah,
I don't
it's tough. The longer rides do take time. They do.
Right.
It's so when you have the time,
Once a year, I do this ride now with my buddy Mark around the perimeter of Toronto, which ends up being about 140K.
Wow.
I think when you add it up.
Yes.
But that's once a year.
That's crazy. See, when I get to 80, I just want to go home. It's just 100K ride's kind of yeah. 80's a good ride for me now.
Yeah, 80 sounds fantastic. But give us so because you had the quadruple bypass, What's the prognosis going forward? Like, will you get to see your 100th birthday? What's going on here?
Yeah, so look, I'm on medication. I'm on a statin now. That's basically, and look, I knew it's partly my fault because I knew, first of all, there was family history, and I knew I had high cholesterol. Look, my cholesterol before surgery was the bad cholesterol, for the people that know about this, and you can skip through this part if it's really boring because there's some really good audio coming up. We got some great stuff coming up.
Although this is interesting to me.
But anyway, yeah, for those, but yeah, skip ahead. But otherwise, if you're getting, you should listen to this if you have any family history, because I have a little advice for you, first of all. But also that my cholesterol was, if you know anything about this, the LDL, which is the very dangerous cholesterol, the bad, so-called bad cholesterol. My level was 5.2 before surgery. It's 1.7 now.
And what's the range of...
well, they say about 2. You want your LDL around 2 or less. And if you've got any sort of family history, it should be less than 2. Well, it's pretty much the medication.
Sure.
And what it is just, what people don't know, a lot of people don't know, is the liver creates or manufactures about 75-80% of the cholesterol that's floating around in your body. You make yourself. The liver does that. And my problem is there's these things called the lipoproteins. That's what the LDL is, and the HDL. They're lipoproteins. They carry around the cholesterol. Well, my liver just makes too many of these things. So that's what the statin controls. And so it's in control right now. But there's some issues about statins too. So, but look, it's a choice of what do you want? Do you want the risk of you don't like statins, or you want the risk of a heart attack?
Right, you got to pick your poison.
That's kind of it. Yeah. So I'm in a better place right now. I'm still going to continue with the healthy diet, healthy lifestyle. And,
it's a plane overhead.
Oh yeah, it's nice to hear planes. I can't believe I do that now. When I see a plane, I go, "Oh wow, a plane! That's so cool." Life is coming back.
Sometimes you see the Lancaster bomber.
Oh yeah, the one from Hamilton. There's only like 2 in the world.
I think there's only one flying now.
Oh really?
I shout out to Brother Bill, who's going to listen to this episode, because I believe his dad flew a Lancaster bomber in the war, and I'm also 99% sure that Peter Mansbridge's Peter Mansbridge's father flew a Lancaster bomber in World War II, I believe.
My Aunt Ida, who's 95,
good for her.
She put the rivets in a Lancaster over in Scotland.
That's a Avro, right? Is it Avro that made it? Yes, right, Avro. Shout out to the Avro Arrow that who knows where they're hiding.
I want to go out and see it at the Hamilton.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's there. I think you can actually, for about $2-3 grand, you can actually take a flight in it.
Well, you got to get in line. I think Shatner wants to do it first.
Yes, yes. He's up there today. When does he take off?
I think he took off right now.
Oh, okay.
So text me. I hope
Good luck
all worked
to
out. I'll go over to YouTube and we'll just listen in on the call there. But he's up there for a short time, not a long time. Okay, quadruple bypass.
Yes,
you're looking good. You feeling okay?
Yeah. No, I do.
Are you back to the biking?
I am. I'm back. I started back in April, so I'm at just, what did I say there? I'm at about 2,300 so far this year. So I'm back to normal that way. It's just, you just don't know, right? I don't know what the future holds, but you just have to do what you have to do.
I don't think I'm hoping you won't be the first Toronto Mike guest to pass away. So,
I hope not too.
Shout out to proud sponsors of the program, Ridley Funeral Home. So here, this is my blessing for you. I work with Ralph Benmergui on his show, and he likes to give blessings for things. My blessing for you is that you do not require the Ridley Funeral Home fine services anytime soon. That's my blessing for you,
but it's
Scott.
Good to know someday, right? It's all going to happen.
Everyone dies,
right?
Right. It's just it's too early. You have too much to give back to this world, including these awesome audio clips. But before we get into these awesome clips, although there is one here, but I want to ask you about your new gig, because you said this heart trouble was discovered when you were on hiatus. But you're back now.
Yes. So, and just before I tell you about that, the one thing I wanted to mention for anybody, when you're going to get your blood work, your blood test, and if you do have any kind of family history or your cholesterol level's a little bit high, ask for a Lp(a) test. You actually have to pay for it. It's not in the normal test. It's only like $35. It's the lipoprotein small a, Lp(a). And it's an indicator that you may have an issue, family history issue. It's something to ask for and get tested, the Lp(a). It's little known, and a lot of doctors don't put it in the test. You have to ask for it.
And that's one to grow on.
There you are.
Scott Turner. Now, what's the new gig?
So new gig, I'm working for Evanoff Communications, which is so I'm looking after their Brantford properties. There's 3 stations there. One is Light 92, which you can actually pick up in Toronto right here. It's got a huge signal. It's fantastic.
And Light, is that going to be like sort of like?
It's like Light Favorites.
Of course, yes.
Toronto, Mike. It's Light Favorites.
Well, and you spell Light Lite, right?
Yes, that's it.
I can see it now.
There
I can
it
see
is.
it now. Okay,
Yeah.
what else you got there?
And there's also a country station, and I actually, you know what? And there's a Christian, an AM Christian station. I'm program director for the 3 stations.
Wow!
So what's
what a mix.
cool about this is because I've done so much CHR and other things in my past, and I've been doing radio over 40 years. So I just needed something different, and I haven't really done the AC format before, which is the light station.
Right.
A country station, that was my first station I started at, Chew in Ajax. And I only did that for a short period of time. And country's a fun format, so I'm kind of having fun with that. And I've never done, a Christian AM Christian radio station, so that's a new challenge for me. So it's really cool to be working with the people like Paul Evanoff, along with his dad, built that Evanoff radio empire. And we go back to Energy 108.
Right.
And there's some really good people there. Lars, who I worked with at Energy 108, is there, and Carmel and other people that. And you know what? It's a small radio group and company, a growing company, but it's not, I'm tired of corporate radio. This is so not corporate radio. I'm tired. I'm done with corporate radio, so this is a great place for me
Careful
right
what
now.
you say out loud. What if you get an offer you can't refuse from
not
one
doing
of
it.
those large corporate media
not
companies?
happening. Not happening.
I heard they wanted you to.
Gig.
This is your last gig?
This is my last radio gig. Absolutely.
Okay.
It is.
Because I was talking to the good people at Rogers, and they said you'd be perfect to take Maureen Holloway's spot on CHFI mornings. They were like, we need a Scott Turner type.
Oh no, I learned about that. Mornings and I was thinking, and tomorrow is the anniversary for Humble and Fred, right?
Yes.
And I was just thinking,
7 p.m.
Howard, if you're listening at all, it's like, I was thinking, how could I wanted to leave a message for Howard. I was thinking, and I maybe played a small part. I was that suck on CFNY mornings between when you left to go to the mix, right, and then came back. So I think I in a way I helped him out.
I was listening back then, so I definitely remember the Scott and Fred era.
Yeah,
right when Howard was at 99.9, and I'll play that clip for them because I can pull that, and I am firing off clips tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on their Facebook page. Right. So I will.
But you know what? The quick thing I just wanted to say: those guys absolutely doing things before anybody else. They were just pioneers, like you've been pioneers doing what you're doing right now. And I heard their story. I listened to that podcast you did with them. It's great. You should go back and listen to it. You get not the whole story, but you get good chunks of their story. And it's like how they persevered through that and all those changes and the challenges and all the shit they had to deal with. I mean, that's incredible. And they, kept together as a team. An incredible story. And, good for them.
Yeah, that last 10 years, this from the I'm thinking the Kingston experiment to the Sirius XM to the Funny 820 to the 1010 best ofs and everything in between. And now it's funny where they're at now is right exactly where I'm at now, where you're just a podcast. I mean, like this is where you end up podcast. You realize you actually, and I should say this to a gentleman who just proudly announced he's working in Brantford for the Evanoff Communications people, but you don't need radio anymore. It's just a cumbersome distribution platform, not convenient at all. But I digress. I have a what do I have here? I have a jingle. I think it's a jingle. I have a 790 CKMW.
Oh yeah. So this and this goes with the Evanoff story. So my story going back to how I met Bill Evanoff and working with his son today, Bill, passed away just a couple of years ago, and Paul now is leading the company. Paul Evanoff, and he was like just this little kid when we did Energy 108 way back when. But when I first met Bill, I was working at CKMW, which was 790 CKMW. It was the AM station of CFNY. They were owned by the same company, and it used to be CHIC. So that AM station used to be Chick AM, and then CFNY, before it was CFNY, was Chick FM, CHIC FM. Right. Anyway, so the call letters were changed to CKMW for Metro West. It was down the hallway And that's how I got into CFNY. I was just down the hallway working at this radio station. I think
Is this a house in Brampton? Is this
No, this was in a strip mall.
So it's after the house.
Yes, after the house.
Oh, because Fred Patterson has a like a picture of the house.
Yeah, and
So
the
I guess-
AM station was still there at the time.
Okay,
But so when I came into it, this is like 1980, 81, 82.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
All right, so let's listen.
I guess
to,
this is me on CKM. Oh, this is my top 40 style.
Well, I can't wait to hear
I
this.
think.
Here we go.
Metro West weather today, beautiful. Tomorrow, beautiful. And the weekend, not looking too bad either. Sunshine and a few clouds around this afternoon. Same story tomorrow. However, in the morning, it'll still be a little hazy, and the fog, which we've had previous mornings, will be around as well. High this afternoon near 22, a low tonight of 9. High tomorrow near 24. Little chance of rain for today, tonight, and tomorrow. Currently in Brampton, it's 18 or 65 at CKMW.
Still got to give the Fahrenheit back then. How old are you approximately there?
Oh, so 21, 22?
See, I don't understand how you have those pipes at 21.
Oh,
like,
thank you. Processing. Compression.
Is that
Processing.
it? So is it too late for me, or could I also? I was
there
asking
are-
Jeff Woods this. He told me I had to start drinking and smoking at a young age.
That's a good one.
Like 8 years old, he said you got to start.
Well, the compression they put on, especially on AM radio back then. And that station today is AM 530. It changed frequencies again. It's CHLO, which is a multicultural station owned by Evanoff. And it still exists. And, the stations were sold off. The FM and the AM were split back in those days. But that's where May Potts, I met May Potts at 790, and we did the Rhythm Radio 790 for a little while with that frequency. And Craig Venn,
of course,
came out of there as well.
And
Anyway.
is this you previous visits to Toronto, Mike? You talked about the big like disco party or disco gathering.
Oh yeah, that was the breakdance.
Breakdance.
parties.
That's
Yeah,
where I'm
so
going with it, right?
yeah,
Sorry.
that's where where with Bill, when Bill purchased this CKMW,
Right.
the AM station of CFNY back then. He purchased that station. He wanted to turn it into a multicultural station, but he didn't have all his ducks in a row yet. And I said, listen, can I do something with the station? I think we could do this rhythm radio thing and play, urban contemporary music. And so we played a lot of, I don't know, just trying to think of some of the artists back then, but Jermaine Stewart, The Word Is Out, is a song that comes to mind. A lot of those things were, it wasn't, a lot of, Canadian radio weren't playing, urban music at the time. And so we were doing a lot of that and some dance stuff. Anyway, we had a breakdance contest. So that was around 1983, 84 at Chinguacousy Park in Brampton. And it was like 7,000 people showed up. And this is just an AM radio station. And it was huge. Anyway, that sort of concept was the birth later on that became, Dance 108, Energy 108, way back when.
And this is a good time to let listeners know it, just in case this is your first time hearing Scott Turner on Toronto Mike. You got some great episodes to catch up on. In fact, there's like entire episodes like devoted to CFNY, and there's an episode for 108 and Flow. It's like the ongoing history of Scott Turner. Is that title taken? I think we're going to borrow that title if we can. And also, I should just tell you, Scott, that I follow you on social media, and I urge everyone to do that because you commemorate like music and concert anniversaries. And I always consume the content and think, I wish this was a podcast. Like, I would love a Scott Turner podcast, even if it was weekly or something, to recap all the music and concert anniversaries that you share via social media.
Well, you know what? And we talked about this back before I had this little incident with my heart.
Right.
That I was going to do a podcast, and I sort of had it planned and set up, and I was looking at all the gear and everything. And then, quadruple bypass happened, and that really set me back big time. It took a while to recover from that.
Right.
Even though it's a kind of standard procedure, it's still a pretty big deal of an operation, and I'd never had any operation in my life before, anything like that. So it did derail things, and I was looking at it, I thought, there's so many people in this space, so many people doing it so well like you, and I thought then COVID hit, right? So what a year, right? I have quadruple bypass, then COVID hit.
I am trying to do a little of it, like I do a monthly with Mark Weisblot, and I do something about this, I'd say, in this arena, definitely, but I don't think I know I'm not doing it the way that you would do it, having been there, and I just just throw. I'm not even saying. I'm not even saying this as a producer of podcasts. I'm saying this as a consumer of podcasts. That maybe one day we'll get lucky enough that we can subscribe to the Scott Turner podcast.
You're very kind.
And on that note, it's funny. I just booked David McPherson for his return to Toronto Mike to discuss the anniversary. There's a Massey Hall book.
Yes. So,
and I just booked him. Like literally, we confirmed the day and time this morning. So there will be like an entire episode devoted to Massey Hall, essentially. But share with us if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. So I do have a story. And by the way, if you want to follow me and get some of these, every day I post some great music anniversaries and milestones and artists of singles and albums released, blah blah blah. That's the other thing I had with this, the heart surgery and COVID not working. I had all this time, and I love doing research, so that's where a lot of this stuff came from. I did tons of research, which I'm still posting every day. So follow me Twitter at Scott Turner. It's Scott with 1 T at Scott Turner, and I'm also on Facebook too, and you'll catch the stuff there. Anyway, so one story, because I was talking to the guys. They're putting this book together, this Massey Hall book, which is, kind of fits into I love that they're, putting together this history of Massey Hall, one of the greatest venues, not just Toronto, in Canada, and the artists and shows and experiences that people have had there. So that book's coming out. I think you can order it online. You can just Google it. I think they have pre-orders right now. I think they were asking me for a story, and the only one I could think of, but I thought it's not really appropriate for the book, but I'll just tell you it here for a quick second. So I'm thinking back, and I don't know the years, around mid-'80s, so I'm working for CFNY, and back then we got to MC concerts. Some bands were okay with it, some weren't. And often what would happen is like, okay, you're gonna MC the show, but you're gonna go out 5 minutes before the band, so it's not like, and here they are, because some bands don't like that. I get some cheesy DJ up there introducing them. Fair enough. Okay, so you'd go out 5 minutes before, whatever. And I thought, okay, so I'm gonna be at Massey Hall, and you know what? For the life of me, I can't remember who the artist was, but it's Massey Hall. This is a pretty big stage.
Of course.
So what's happening at the time, I'm doing live in Toronto, and there's a lot of controversy about tickets that radio stations have are the primo tickets, like front row, middle section, second row, first 10 rows, best seats. Right. This is what, and people were complaining because the radio stations got the best tickets to give away, and it's not fair to the general public. Well, I actually knew, because, I talked to the promo department. I go, wait, the tickets that we give away, how good are they? It's like, well, they're not bad, but they're not front, front 10 rows. They're like to the side a little bit and back 20 rows and that sort of thing. I'm like, oh, okay. So I thought, because everybody's saying, oh, we're being ripped off anyway. So silly, stupid me decides, and my MC opportunity. So 5 minutes to go before the show, and you got a full Massey Hall. And there's Scott Turner on stage going, hey, you might have heard about this controversy about radio stations that have all the best tickets. So listen, stand up if you won tickets from a radio station, right? So sure enough, people in Massey Hall, and they're on the left side and some on the right. Nobody in the front rows, right?
Right.
I'm like, hey, great, okay, cool. Anyway, 5 minutes from now, so-and-so is going to be on stage. Love you. Thank you. I'm Scott Turner from CFNY. The spirit of radio. All right, great. So I'm going backstage, and then I hear this big around the stage, and there's this guy looking at me going, come with me. I'm like, what? So I go, he pulls me back in this small, I don't know who this guy is. He's this kind of short guy, but very angry. He's like red in the face, like angry. And they go to this back room. He closes the door behind me, sits me down on a chair, and proceeds to walk around me, like just yelling and swearing, you fucking, what are you doing? You have no right to fucking, I'm like, holy shit, right? And that was it. That's all I remember. And the next day, of course, the radio station, I guess David Marsden got a phone call from a guy named Arthur Fogel. I had no idea who he was, but he's somebody big up in CPI. And if you don't know who Arthur Fogel is now, like I had to look it up because he's pretty big in Live Nation. I think officially now he is the CEO of Global Touring Division of Live Nation. There's actually a documentary called Who the Fuck is Arthur Fogel?
The name, that's where I know the name from. Right. Okay, so he's
Yeah.
hanging out with Joey Vendetta now. Is that the deal?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, that's true. Yes. Anyway, long story short, I had to send a big apology. I had to write a letter of apology and everything, and don't do that again. Who do you think you are, kind of thing. I'm like, I just thought I was helping. Don't do that again. Anyway, that's my Arthur Fogel story.
Love it. Love it. And
Okay.
I just want to let people know exactly when this Massey Hall episode is taking place. So I have a date here. It's happening on November 3rd at 10 a.m. So in this backyard,
nice.
David McPherson talking about Massey Hall.
That's awesome.
All right,
I
now
look forward
talk
to
to
that
me-
book. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Because the Horseshoe Tavern one was very good too. So this is like the next one. And the reason we're hearing all these planes, I realize, is because on these overcast days with the low clouds, they fly lower. Like normally you don't hear this many planes, but I think it's because of the clouds. They're flying at a lower altitude.
Look, we're outside. It's
yeah.
October 13th,
I
and
know.
we're outside. You're in a t-shirt and
I know.
shorts.
And I've been in this outfit forever because. And it's interesting. On Thanksgiving, I went for a bike ride, and it was hot. Like it was hot. It was humid and hot.
Yes.
It's Thanksgiving Day. And I still remember this day. It was like in the mid-'90s, there was a Thanksgiving Day when we all went in T-shirts to play football in the park, me and my brothers and my wife at the time and everything. And I remember like, oh, wow, it was like in the 20s on Thanksgiving. Like this felt like a really rare thing. And now I'm looking at a photo of Peter Gross back here last year on this day, and he's in a T-shirt. And now I think it's not uncommon at all anymore, I
Okay,
think,
yeah,
to
maybe
be in a
that's it.
T-shirt on Thanksgiving. I think things have shifted on us over the last couple of decades.
Well, global warming.
Yep.
Right.
That's
It's real.
Shout out to Dr.
Yep.
Diane Sachs, Green Economy Heroes. All right, talk to me about Humber College.
Okay, so I think this is a little audio we're going to play here from. I went to Humber College, took radio at Humber College, and I was, of course, really into punk and new wave. This is like 1980, circa 1980, maybe 79. And I just found this audio the other day, and I actually sent it to Ivor Hamilton. For those that are CFNYers, you might remember Ivor Hamilton, Brad McNally from the early days, and this was me, I guess, interviewing them. Back because I was doing at college some sort of special on new wave or something. Anyway, go ahead.
One station that does give airplay to new wave is CFNY. Brad McNally of CFNY gave us his reasons for why other radio stations shy away from playing new wave.
They just don't want to upset anybody. Play what we get off the telephone there, and it should be played. I mean, it's fresh. Most of it is fresh. It's new. It's just fun rock and roll.
Ivor Hamilton of CFNY adds his comments of why Toronto's two major FM rock stations play very little new wave music.
What they're doing is just a major trend that they see in the States. They're just so tightly formatted, and they're going to have to change. They're just so narrow-minded.
They sound.
They're afraid. Chum didn't play Talking Heads before. And we played a lot of it. We played the hell out of it, and now they're playing it. And, they're finally seeing the light in a lot of things. They're playing a lot more than they were, say, a year ago. And so is Q. Q plays the Police now, too. But they're still very skeptical about a lot of things.
I'm fascinated by, why certain, acts were played by CFNY. In fact, I'm not even going to reveal any details, but let's just say I was chatting with Ivor Hamilton about this yesterday. Okay?
Oh.
There's something brewing. I'm just going to say that. And I don't want to say any more because I think it's going to drop as a bit of a surprise. But
Tell.
I'll tell you, as soon as I
curious.
press stop, I'll tell you exactly what's going on there.
Okay, cool.
In fact, your name came up in all this because when I think about like who would be the authoritative voice on why something would have been played on CFNY in the 80s and why something would not have been played, two names jump into my mind right away. Like first I think of Ivor Hamilton, and then I think of Scott Turner. Like that's and I know he's ahead of you. Because you're at Humber College and you're talking to him.
Ivor's huge. He is really a huge factor of, a lot. You could say most of the music that you heard on the station. And I didn't start till 84, so he was very, very influential. And I was just one of those, waving the flag about, pushing for music and songs.
But if I may, didn't you tell me, I believe when we did our 80s, I should point out the 80s CFNY. So if we did we did a Spirit of Radio episode or something, and didn't you tell me there was a CRTC promise of performance or something where CFNY could not play over a certain number of songs that are in the top 40 or something. Wasn't there something?
Oh, I think you're thinking of,
Am I
and this was
confusing
kind of the
things?
energy.
Conflating things?
No, it's okay. It
Or is
was
this
the Energy 108
okay, this
story
Energy 108
because
story.
it was one of the reasons that,
Right.
FM stations in the 80s couldn't go top 40 because there was a regulation you had to play so many non-hits. So it was protecting, the government just said, we need to protect AM radio because FM radio's here and
Gotcha.
it's the future. Everyone's going
But
to
did
listen
this
to
affect?
FM.
Because this would explain to me why CFNY would look to Britain and see what's successful there that hasn't appeared in like the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 or whatever.
that's-
And then you would go strong in that direction. Sort of would put you on the the edge, no pun intended, of things because you'd be kind of ahead because you might be playing, this, I don't know this, I'll make it up, but you'll be playing this Elvis Costello song or whatever that maybe hasn't been picked up by American top 40
That's
stations.
certainly part of it. The imports, it was really down to the music. Honestly, it was about the music. It's finding great music. Whether it was imported or not, it was great music. And if there was something, obviously a lot was coming out of England. There's a huge amount of stuff coming out of England and really good stuff. And it wasn't, it wasn't on first of all, it wasn't being released in North America or they weren't releasing it for another year. And, the station played imports because it's just a good piece of music. We're going to play it, and that's that. And of course, what's interesting about some of that and related to what you're saying is that, some of these things like The Cure and Depeche Mode were songs were going in the top 40 charts in the UK. They were like top 40 hits, but not top 40 hits in North America, in the early days.
Right.
And so, but they were, which means they were accessible. Some of them were, quite melodic and it's not like they were weird. It's just, to some people it was, who's The Cure?
Right.
Ew.
No, for sure. Absolutely. Without a doubt, for sure. But then on this note, because these are thoughts I've had over the decades and I finally have an opportunity to ask. So let's take a band that was big here, an English band that was huge in North America. Let's talk about Duran Duran, okay?
Sure.
So Duran Duran, I don't know, let's say 82 or whatever, like Rio or something is a hit. Like that's a bona fide hit on both sides of the ocean.
Yes.
And you had Q107 wouldn't touch it, right? Like so like what was that just it wasn't rock enough because it had a synth?
I think so. I think rock, the stations had a certain position. I think Q was just, you leaned to more rock. Where CFNY back in those days, the music was, the variety of styles was all over the place.
Sure.
And that was a big part of the 80s, early, mid to
I'm watching
late
that
80s.
squirrel walk. Squirrels rarely fall. Like they just jump around from branch to branch on wires, and with like that guy there, like
most of the time they make it. I have
Yeah.
seen them miss a couple of times.
I think
and
I've seen it once.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, once in a while they miss, but you always wonder why they don't miss more often. Like those little claws or whatever.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's some like stickiness to them or something.
It's like
They're
a
amazing.
jungle back here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah,
Beautiful
anyway.
day in October. Beautiful October
It
day.
is. I had
back
a
here.
groundhog show up just the other day.
Okay,
just
I always am
at my
interested
place.
in
Just showed up in the front of the window.
what animals show up in the where. Like, you ever have a deer show up or no?
Yeah, I have deer.
Okay, 'cause,
yeah, where I am. I'm in North Burlington, so I get a bit of wildlife and coyotes and deer and things like that. Yeah.
Well, the most exotic animal to be on my property in the last since I got here 8 years ago is a fox. So there was
cool.
a fox showed up.
Oh,
and
very
that was a
cool.
big deal. Like, oh my goodness, there's a fox. Okay, but just
Back
to
to
wrap
the
up
show.
back to the 80s. So the two stations that were
Yeah.
rock stations are Chum FM and
Yeah.
Q107.
Yep.
And they have their rivalry, and we'll get into some Chum FM stuff.
And
shortly.
I would say back then, Chum FM was just probably a little bit more. They were starting to get a little more commercial, and Q did take some chances. They weren't first, but they would play the Police, and they picked up on some other stuff too. But I think they kind of leaned it a little more rock.
Sure.
And wouldn't play like they
AC/DC
wouldn't get into
and-
Howard Jones and things like that.
Okay,
or
so
Depeche Mode.
So I think if the it sounds like if the synthesizer
Yeah.
shows up, they tap out.
Yeah, it's kind of, sort of. Yeah.
But so CFNY would go heavy on such things. But what about Chum FM? Like, just because I don't have a memory, and we're going to talk more about Chum FM. I don't
Yeah.
have a memory of listening to Chum FM before it went top 40 or whatever it went in the mid 80s there.
Yeah, well, we're going to hear a
Okay,
couple
we'll
of
get
examples
back to
of
that.
that.
All
Yeah,
right.
because there was a very, very cool time of,
get to that.
before CFNY became the cool station.
Right.
There was Chum FM, a very progressive, cool rock station. we're going to play a clip
Well, yeah,
in a second. Right?
Shout out to Hebsy when we get to that section. I
Okay.
know first we're going to talk about the Ramones, but I know Hebsy massive. Whenever I had like Brian Master or Geets Romo, who of course was at CFNY as well, but any of these Chum FM guys, Hebsy gets very that was his station. That was his station back then. Okay, talk to me, my friend. Talk to me about the Ramones.
Oh, it's just a clip I did while I think. This was I was at an AM station in Guelph. It's still there, Seajoy.
Somebody. Oh, you know what? Who didn't show up? Bruce Barker. That's who it was. So
Yeah.
Bruce Barker, I had done my homework for his arrival, and he postponed his visit. But that's where I was reading and my Seajoy stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's just I guess it was 1980. The Ramones. Of course, again, I'm into all this music, punk and new wave that's happening, and the Ramones are playing Guelph. There's a photo of me with the Ramones. It's pretty funny. I'm standing the Ramones are standing on the front of the radio station. There's a picture of me, and I'm wearing like this tie because during the office hours, all announcers had to wear ties.
Wow.
At the station, but anyways,
What a
so
time.
I somehow talked the Ramones to come out to this little AM station in Guelph, and they were fantastic. It was a great interview. And I guess this is a clip from a show I did. I did this show called New Wave Friday Night.
I mean, you just thought about the things that you always hated about going to see other people.
Right.
And the things that we hated were the long, boring solos.
Watching them tune up.
Watching them tune up, wasting your time.
Yeah. You know, watching them yell, let's rock and roll, let's get up and clap our hands.
Some people have this thing about
crap.
tuning it. They always feel like they're out of tune. They have to tune up every song.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
certain
it's not
people,
to tune up every song.
they always feel they're out of tune. So,
You miss those half-an-hour drum solos.
so I have a guitar tuner who tunes with the machine, and then whenever I feel like I'm out of tune, I just switch to guitar. We started about 6 years ago. We grew up together. We lived in the same block. And, something we always wanted to do, be in a band.
That was 74. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it was around early summer of 74, and we played August of 74 for the first time at some bar in a Skid Row section of New York called CBGB's.
Right.
And we continued to play there for about a year, and then after about a year, he had built up a big following and all that, and record companies came down, and we signed with Sire Records.
Yeah, then we went to Europe in July 76, and in England at that time all they were listening to was pub rock and Dr. Feelgood music, and we kicked off the whole new wave pretty much.
Wow.
Great guys, absolutely
Amazing.
super guys, and
I can't believe they went to Guelph. Because it was hard enough to get them to Brampton.
they played a lot of small gigs. These guys just slugged it out. They played all over the place. I think they played Burlington. Yeah, they're like, hey, okay, sure, we'll play.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that's a great clip, man. I'm glad you shared that. And now let's get to the Chum FM chatter.
Yeah, so this is I don't know which. Did I play a couple here? Which one is it? Does it
I
say?
have a couple. Like I have. I'm checking my
Does
notes.
this
here.
one say? What does it say on
Jim Bauer.
Jim Bauer?
This is about John Lennon.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this quick story here. Let me just see which one this is.
Right. He called the station in the mid 70s. John Lennon.
Yeah, so at around 74, 75. So, and unfortunately, I actually don't have the interview clip of John Lennon. I haven't found that yet. So I don't know where it came from, but look at this. This is partly a story, and Chum FM is part of that. The story of how connected Toronto, how this city has done so much for music in the world. And there's something about Toronto and the people of Toronto and the ears of Toronto that are just ahead of a lot of places in the world and get music before any place else. And where a lot of this stuff, and artists know that. And I think that's one of the things that Chum FM was known at the time. This is the mid 70s into the late 70s that they were known around the world for, being very open-minded to music that not everybody was into. A lot of artists, the albums broke here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so John Lennon, I guess there was some connect.
Well, I think
Toronto,
I know the connect. John Donaby.
Yeah, that is one of them. Yeah, somehow they...
Wasn't he at Chum FM at this time?
Yes, and he did the interview. So So for whatever reason, he reached out, I think, to John Donaby and said, "Look, I want to
like
call
he was
you guys."
bedside at the bed-in for peace. Like
Yeah.
John's at the side of the bed.
Yeah.
Because I had John on the show, so I
Oh,
grilled
yes.
him on all
See,
that.
I need
That's
to
my
listen
whole.
to that.
See,
Yes.
Scott, my whole role in this whole thing
Yes.
is to get all the parts and all the pieces on the table so I could finish this puzzle.
Piece it all together, yeah.
Which
So-
we'll never finish. That's the joy.
Yeah, John Donaby, absolutely. So he was one of my idols listening to Chum FM, as was David Marsden was at Chum FM at the time.
Yes.
And so was Pete and Keats were there at the time. Anyway, so I guess John Lennon, and they don't know why, says, I'm going to want to call you guys. I want to talk to you guys for whatever reason. And so I guess the clip talks about what they think why John Lennon is going to call Chum FM the next day. I think this is it.
Heard yours. I think what it is John's going to make the announcement that he's going to finally get involved in raising tangerine trees.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right. A tangerine tree.
Is that anything like dental floss?
No. Dave.
It's a different thing.
Dave, dental floss is a thing of the 70s, and
what are you in the 60s?
John is still hung up on tangerine trees. Yeah?
Tangerine dream. I don't know. Do you have a real prediction? I mean, have you thought about this thing?
Well, you think about all of the things that are involved in John Lennon's life the last few years.
He's going to write another.
I think that. Should I say what I really think?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone should.
I would give it away. I think for sure he's going to say, "Well, I'm moving to Toronto."
That's funny because that's what I said earlier tonight too.
Yeah, he's going to say that because he's going to be booted out of the United States any time now if he isn't here already.
Yes. Well, I didn't.
Hi, John. Hi.
Well, that's what I think is. We both predicted the same thing. That's really nice. That must mean there's something in the wind here.
Well, we're like Avis. We try harder. John, I know we're second choice, but...
Good night to you. Have a good night, Jim. I'll see you about 6 tomorrow. We'll see about 3:15 tomorrow what he's really going to say.
So that's David Marsden talking with, I think that's Jim Bauer he
Yes.
was talking to. And I can't tell you because I did hear the interview, and it was the weirdest interview with John Lennon. And half of the interview he talked about he was convinced, this is John Lennon, convinced he'd seen a UFO at his apartment in New York. And he talked a lot about that. And I don't know if he was just, smoking something, but and there was no announcement, there was no coming to Toronto.
He never moved here.
He never did move, but it was very interesting. Anyway, that's an interesting little taste of Chum FM, mid 70s.
And I was thinking, it's a shame that terrestrial radio, it's all about, I guess, maximum ears or whatever to maximize revenues and profit. And as a result, you have stations like Chum FM and CFNY who have to make these big programming decisions at some point that they can't be so cool anymore.
Right.
Like there's no money in being cool like that. So
Well, it's tough. Well, they do. You know what they do? They sit in these boardrooms and they're convinced that we can still be cool and and grow this thing. And that's the challenge. It's like to grow it, but maintain what you have already. And it's so hard. It's just a battle everybody goes through.
And then you got a bunch of the people who love you because you're cool will hate you because you're popular. Like go ask
absolutely.
be REM or you can name it. Like
absolutely. Oh yeah, we're all guilty of that, right? We want it for ourselves and nobody else. But you want success, but then only so much. And you're doomed.
You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So that's why I think podcasting is where it's at now, because there's a lot of great podcasts where it's literally done because of love of the game.
Yep.
Great passion.
Yes.
And there's no thoughts of how do we get these shareholders more bang for their share buck, and it's that's what with money ruins everything.
Yeah. I love that quote from Fred Patterson in that last podcast you guys did together, where he said, and Fred was like, you know what, if I was retired, I'd do this, as a hobby,
right?
Right, and that says it all.
That says it all. Okay, we're gonna stick with Chum FM for a bit, and then before we segue from Chum FM to classic CFNY, because I know a lot of listeners now are like, "Where's the classic CFNY?" And it is coming. I will make sure I give you some gifts for making your trek here to New Toronto. But let's pick it up with the Elmo.
Okay, yes. So this is just a clip of Brian Thomas. I think this is Brian Thomas of Chum FM. I think he did the news. or was a reporter. So he's calling from the El Mocambo. This is, of course, that classic moment when the Stones played March 4th, 1977, the Stones, and this is just him calling from the club.
It's an album called Night After Night, Bill Quaitman, and Back by the River. Also Aerosmith with Dream On from their first album, and Janis Joplin's Summertime, Gershwin tune. A couple minutes now before 11. This is Chum FM, Stereo 104 in Toronto. Just truckin's the spot for... Well, we have Brian Thomas on the phone. Hello, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. Have an exciting night, I understand it.
It is one of the most exciting evenings in my life, I would say, yes. The Rolling Stones are, in fact, here performing for a very small, select audience at the El Mocambo at College in Spadina. And this is the first time they've done anything like this in about 13 years when they came out of the club circuit back in England. How many years ago was that? And tonight, over 300 people, mostly Chum FM contest winners, are participants in a live album, which is being recorded tonight. The Stones are appearing in about 5 or 6 minutes from now. And this is a treat for the people here, and certainly for myself, and unexpected, I might add, too, on the part of at least the 300 people here who came down to see April Wine tonight. This is one of the most closely guarded secrets probably in the history of recorded music.
You know, I talked to Miles Goodwin about this on Toronto Mike.
Oh, did you? Cool.
Recently, yeah. But
I'll go back and listen to that. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, you got to listen to Miles Goodwin on Toronto Mike. But again, just piecing it all together because Mick Jagger won't take my call. But but luckily,
not yet. Not yet.
Huh?
Not yet.
Although I heard he did Howard Stern, but then someone said like it was just there was nothing new revealed. Like it was there was nothing special about it. But at least he did take Stern's call. Come on, I'm coming for you, Stern. All right,
keep trying.
That was awesome, and that's a moment I feel like Weckerly is just trying to make that happen again. Like that's sort of the get the Stones back to the newly refurbished. Have you been to the new El Mocambo?
I have not.
Get those. I'm surprised. I was disappointed that I was not on the media list because I know Alan Cross and some other media personalities were invited to come on in, take pictures, check it out. I didn't get the invite, but now I'm upset for you because
I didn't either.
Where was Scott Turner's invitation?
What's going on?
But now I feel better about me not getting the invitation. I'm in good company.
I just posted recently. I was there for the first Duran Duran. So we were talking about Duran Duran. They played the Elmo, 1981, 40 years ago. Yeah, and that was really cool.
And I love those anniversaries, especially the 40 years ago ones, because I was too young to take note in real time, and it was like just before I would be. I would realize these things because I'm living in the city. So I love hearing like 40 years ago, and I'm like, I feel like I just missed that. Like,
it just seems weird that 1980 was 40 years ago. And what's this? Somebody said the other day, friends don't tell friends that 1990 was 30 years ago. It's just like, what? It doesn't seem like that.
That's like when they tell you, the time period between, 1990 and now would have been when you were in 1990 if somebody said, 1942. Like, I'm just making it up. And it's like, it's just the way time works. And I will say, I'm going to feel very strange when the Drive of 85, the 1985 Blue Jays season, turns 40, because I remember it like every night vividly. Right. And that's going to be a strange one. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, it's amazing. Time just doesn't stop, does it?
Time stands still. Oh. Good segue here. Let's talk about Rush.
Okay, so this is another Chum FM clip, and do we have time for all these clips? I don't want to eat up all your time today. Who's watching the clock? I'm always so conscious of that as a radio guy. I'm like, geez, this is going long.
I have this chat with people like Gene Velitis and Fred Patterson all the time. Throw the clock in the garbage.
Yeah,
man.
I know. I'm always
unless you have like a dentist appointment.
No. Like just we got beer and food here.
Let it breathe, brother.
Great Lakes and pasta.
Well, play the Rush. Talk to me about Rush. I'll play it, and then I'll give you your goods there.
So I think there's two things mushed together. One is just a Rush commercial from January 1977. I just loved this commercial. I was a kid that loved radio, so I taped all this stuff off the radio. And then I think it goes into a call from Larry Wilson on Chum FM talking to Geddy Lee, who just finished a new album.
Well, yeah, so before I press play, I meant to ask you, so these are clips from your personal collection?
Correct. Yeah,
See, that's an important
I just
detail. We
taped
sort
shit
of
off the
buried the
radio.
lead.
Like
so
everybody-
this is
yeah.
Scott Turner taping shit on the radio and keeping it for 40 plus years.
Yes.
So even that chat so you're recording. It's wild to think you're recording David Marsden on Chum FM,
Yeah.
and then one day you'd work for David Marsden.
Yes.
That's wild.
Bizarre.
Do you realize you're living the dream?
Yes, there you are.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So here's some Rush.
Rush. A second show of rock and roll. January 3rd, 8 p.m., Concert Bowl, Maple Leaf Gardens. Rush. Alex Lifeson, Neil Peart, Geddy Lee. Driving rock and roll.
Heads up, Toronto. It's night at 11 with Rush. Rush on Chum FM's Night at 11 program. I'm Larry Wilson. Good evening. Tonight we have Geddy Lee on the telephone from London, England. And Geddy, you're over there mixing the album that you've just finished recording in Wales, right?
That's right. Well, we're not in Wales now. We're at Ed Vision Studios right now in London, mixing. Just we've got 4 more tunes to mix, and the album will be complete.
Aha. Have you got a title for the album?
Yes, the title of the album is A Farewell to Kings.
Wow. I love how that Larry gentleman, Larry Wilson? Is that his
Larry
name?
Wilson.
Sets it up, and then and Geddy just repeats all of that again.
Yes,
Like,
yeah,
it's
that
like,
happens a
Larry
lot.
just said that, actually.
That happens a
But,
lot. That does happen a lot. People do that. Yes.
All right, amazing, buddy. That's awesome. Now here, so I've already referenced it, but I want to give the promo code to the listener. So you are getting a $75 digital gift card at chefdrop.ca, and there are vegan items there, and it's easy
Excellent.
to sort and everything. So Southern Ontario, you live in Southern Ontario. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I forget there's always
Still in Burlington, 25 years.
Yeah, well, Burlington's for sure covered by the Chef Drop.
All right.
So for sure. So chefdrop.ca, and I'll send you an email of how you do it. But for the listeners, buy one, get one 50% off. The promo code, if you go to chefdrop.ca, use the promo code FOTM. BOGO, buy one, get one. So FOTM BOGO, and you will get one 50% off with your order. And that's awesome. And thank you to Chef Drop. Thank you, Great Lakes Brewery. They sent over some craft beer for you. Scott, you're going to bring that home with you. And again, for your wife or partner, do we have an official title
Wife.
for the woman you live with? Wife,
Yes.
right, number 4, right?
Stacy.
Stacy.
Hi,
Stacy's going to enjoy the meat lasagna.
Yes.
And she's going to have leftovers. She's going to have to invite friends over, I think. It's in my freezer. Don't leave here without it. There's a Sticker U sticker on top of the red Palma pasta box. Thank you, Sticker U, for making the Great Toronto Mike stickers. And you're going to put that on your car before you drive out of here. And if you want decals or stickers or temporary tattoos or anything, go to stickeru.com because it's a great company and they make great products. So.
I have this on a sticker, one of my computer stickers,
Oh.
speakers at home.
Amazing.
Very nice. Yeah.
I still, when I was at the party for Marty, we're going back, I guess that was 2019 at the Opera House. DJ Craig G had a Toronto Mike sticker on the back of his MacBook, and I felt very proud to see it there. It felt good to see that there. Okay, I also want to say to the listeners that there's a great new podcast from the McKay CEO Forums. This podcast is called the CEO Edge Podcast, and I'm actually going to post a new episode later today on TorontoMike.com. I urge you to subscribe and listen. And if you're looking to buy and or sell in the next 6 months, I urge you to chat with Mike Majeski. He's in the know in Mimico, but he's actually kicking ass in the GTA, not just Mimico. And you can go to realestatelove.ca to reach out to Mike Majeski. Just let him know that Toronto Mike sent you. Okay, classic CFNY. Please set up the Morrissey audio.
Yeah, and these are all really short clips because I'm so conscious of time, I try to keep it, nice and tight as we were.
Do you think we're on the radio right now and that there's going to be another show starting?
You can't get the radio out of the guy, right? It's still like you're still feeling those things. You're right.
You've been programmed, essentially.
You're right.
And it's not it's not easy, but because I was never programmed, because I've never worked in radio.
It's a good thing.
So it's a different, completely.
It is a good thing.
I'm a different animal.
Absolutely, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So here's a couple of clips that Morrissey. He didn't do a lot of interviews, and this was these clips are from an interview backstage at Kingswood Music Theater. This is '86, which I think was the second and last time the Smiths played in Toronto. And this first one is just a little clip about How Soon Is Now, which, and again, the really cool thing about this for me anyway is that I remember the band coming to town and I was asking, okay, how do I get an interview with Morrissey? And as it turns out, like there was only the Globe and Mail, I believe CBC, and me.
Wow.
Out of all Canada, because really nobody played the Smiths. And there's another clip about that in a second. It's like, but here they were playing Kingswood and hugely popular. But I had to ask about How Soon Is Now, a little clip. I think that's the
I just want to make sure
here.
I play the right one, because one of them I have is it's named Morrissey Kingswood 1986. And then the other one is named Morrissey How Soon Is Now interview.
So he hit How Soon Is Now. This is just him talking about that song.
All right, here we go.
Here, in Toronto anyway, your most popular song is How Soon Is Now, without a question of doubt. And maybe you can tell me a little bit about that song, the making of that song.
The making of the song, really, I think it really simply deals with the very disturbing situation of being on one's own and going out and trying to make friends and going to clubs or wherever, which I used to do a great deal as a teenager. And I think it struck a common chord with many, many people, going out hoping to meet people, hoping to meet friends simply, but yet not really quite managing it. And so that really, in a nutshell, is the song.
Did you have any idea it would be as popular when you were making it? No?
No, because we put it as an extra track on a 12-inch record in England, and no, we didn't think it would be quite so popular. But then people began to write of it as the most important song that we had done, and I'll agree with that.
And who knew later, some consider it, one of the biggest tracks of the 80s, one of the coolest tracks anyway. And
a jam that when you hear it, the opening riff there, you think of CFNY. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's so,
Well, and that sort of leads into this next clip because, and you'll hear me talking about this, that the year before, 85, the Smiths play for the first time. They play Kingswood, and it's like 12,000 people. And that's the biggest audience the band, and this is going back to Toronto and how cool you are, Toronto, because it's the biggest audience they'd ever played for, 12,000 people. And yes, CFNY was a big part of that. But just the how Toronto just knows their music.
What about the state of radio in America? I mean, the Smiths are yet to be played on Top 40 radio, haven't they?
Yes, which again is very, very confusing because it doesn't really quite seem fair. So, but nonetheless, I mean, I half expected it, I suppose. So, just merely another battle, but really, as long as the people come to see the group, we're quite happy, because ultimately that's more important, because I do know people, I do know groups who have become successful in a chart sense in North America, yet when they arrange concerts, people don't actually turn up. So it seems like there's several different worlds that a group can exist in, and therefore if we must have one, or not rather if we must have one, but if we can have one, I think I'd rather have the one that we have now, because it's really most important. Because I think it takes a great deal for somebody to come out and buy a ticket and spend a night and sit and listen. I really do. It takes a lot.
I think tonight is a good example of Kingswood, because if you remember last summer you were here, and I believe up until that point, Kingswood was the largest audience you had played for. I think it was 12,000 that was here last year, and you get limited radio airplay in the area, and that says something, doesn't it?
Well, what does it say? I mean, isn't it a strange situation? What exactly do you have to do in order to gain that A-listing or whatever it is? Yeah. What do you have to do? I think it's political. I really do think it's political. But that's okay. It just gives us something to fight against, really.
Awesome. Wow.
Morrissey, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
1986. And I know a lot of people, it's like, a lot of people like Morrissey, the guy he is now, and, rubs people a lot, the wrong way. But he treated me, he was a really nice guy and very cool guy back then.
For sure. All right, well, we're sticking with the CFNY classic clips here, and you've got some audio from the Thursday 30.
Yes, so this, I believe, which one is, I think this, I'm glad I found this because for some reason, I keep a lot of shit, but there's stuff I don't keep, and for some reason, I didn't keep the Thursday 30 charts, and, but
That's a shame, man, because
I know.
I would love to, host those or archive those. That would be cool.
Yeah, I wish I could. I wish I had them, but I don't. But I did. I do have the note that the Thursday 30 started September 24th, 1987, and this reveals the very first. I guess this is a clip from I'm thinking the Spirit of Radio Sunday, which I did in 2014, 2015. I think this is talking about the Thursday 30. Anyway, I think that's where this clip comes from.
Hi, this is Scott Turner. Well, 20 years ago tonight was the very first Thursday 30, and the idea actually came from the fact that we didn't have a countdown show on CFNY, which for a number of reasons I think some people felt, well, that's maybe a very commercial thing to do for the radio station, so it was really avoided. Yet at the end of the year we would do countdowns, and I found it really frustrating that there wasn't a countdown for alternative music, and we needed to have this showcase. And plus, I wanted a new feature for my show. So part of the idea was to have a 30 countdown because 40 we felt, a lot of strange reasons, but we felt 40 was a little too commercial sounding and too much like, top 40 radio. So we'd make the countdown 30, and it also happened to rhyme with Thursday. So thus the Thursday 30. I also felt it was a countdown where for those that couldn't keep up with all the new music that CFNY was famous for, here was a place they could go and keep track of things, at least tune in, if anything, once a week to find out, okay, these are the coolest songs around right now. These are the coolest alternative songs. This is what CFNY is all about. Catch it every week. So it was a place for people to go that perhaps weren't always up on all the new music. So I thought, you know what? There's a show for those people. So if you go back 20 years tonight, 1987, this was the number one song on the very first Thursday 30. The album was Electric, The Cult, Love Removal Machine from CFNY.
Now I want to hear that song.
Well, I told you that we were going to play all of your audio, and I was going to throw one in because I want to just chat about it. Okay, so this is similar. Okay, we'll just call this similar.
Okay.
But here we go.
Drums in this, eh?
Well, I'm gonna want to know if you remember all the personnel involved. Like here, well, let's let Fred Patterson get going
check
here.
This one.
Oh yeah.
Hooked under my tree.
Oh yeah, yes.
And it was there.
Love this.
The Christmas present I wanted all year. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I said, look out you wimps, 'cause I'm coming through. I got my engines revving. Lock up your women and your children too. I'm on my way to heaven with my snow removal.
Freddy's got a
snow removal machine. Rev it up, noise maker. Freddy's got a snow.
So
Noisemaker, I love that line.
I played this last week with Mark Weisblot when we were talking about the 10-year of Humble and Fred. Let's let it finish here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Look out, here I come. 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 Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna make noise, my baby. A whole lot of noise, my baby. Gonna wake you up, my baby. With my snow blowing down, my baby. We got neighbors, my neighbors. Get up, neighbors.
Fred did some funny shit, and I mean, there was Mr. Goohead, but I think that had to be his absolute funniest moment doing that.
And I don't think it gets the love from Humble and Fred because it's pre-Humble. Like, this is my feeling, because this is 87, right? And Humble shows up in 89.
Right.
And it's probably the most memorable thing of anything, and it's pre-Humble, and I don't think Humble loves that little detail. So I don't think it gets like love on Humble and Fred, but when I listen back to that now, Freddie singing the shit out of that. But do you, because you were there, and I have become very friendly lately with Captain Phil Evans,
Yes.
who appeared in the show, and I know he's a fountain of information
He
on all
is.
of this.
He's got a good memory.
But what do you remember about that? Like, do you remember, who was involved?
No, I do not.
Was Nash the Slash involved?
I don't know the answer to that. I
gotta
think
go
it's
to
pretty
Captain.
much the bed track of the cult, and
So
we had
that-
some really good producers.
Because I was gonna say you didn't have a band that tight that would sound that strong. This is actually a backing track, and then just,
Yeah, and with some wizard producers, John Massacre and people like that, and
there are there's
they were
background
absolutely
vocals.
brilliant.
Do you know? Do you have any idea who was singing back up there with Freddie?
No, it's
Like Darren Wasiluk, maybe.
It's
like,
possibly that it is Freddie just tracked on himself.
No,
like
I
that.
can hear a woman voice in the right side,
Oh,
and there's a
okay.
different male voice in the left.
yeah.
There's I listen very
I can't
closely.
believe you haven't
Scott.
asked Fred this yet.
I know I have. In fact, I probably
Okay.
it's one of those things where at episode 930 I cannot remember that detail.
Right.
But I know Captain Phil Evans will hear this, and then he will Twitter DM me all the facts. Although who might beat him to it might be Mark Weisblatt, so it's going to be a race to the
Fair
finish
enough.
here. But
Yes.
I have.
and it's good we have those guys because there's shit I forget all the time.
Why do you think I stick a microphone in their faces all the time?
Yes.
Because get this down now, because there's
You're
not
right.
a lot of people who give a shit to share this info or
Yeah.
retain it even.
Good point.
That's why.
a good
Yeah,
point.
that's why people like you and Ivor and Ed Conroy from Retro Ontario and Mark Weisblatt from 1236 and the Captain Phil Evans and even the Brother Bills and all these people who care to share, and Alan Cross and all these other
Yep.
cats. Like let's keep sharing, because we're
And Alan's
we're building
got a crazy
something here.
memory too. Alan's just
And he's
amazing.
very
Yeah.
like, if you write him now and just ask, can you talk about this, he will find a time to do it. Like,
Yeah.
how many people will do that?
Agreed.
So shout out to Alan Cross.
No, Ivor too. So many people. Yeah.
And these are all people that we can talk to today, but we have there are some members of the Spirit of Radio family that are no longer with us, Scott.
Oh, is this the clip here with Don Burns? Yeah. Oh, and Martin Street too. It's what? I wasn't even I wasn't thinking of that, but this is a clip from Spirit of Radio Sunday, the show we did Sunday just for a couple of years back.
Which years?
2014, 2015. I
Because
think.
that doesn't add up with the fact
Oh.
you were I believe those were the years of the
Yeah.
Spirits Radio. But when you said that you don't know where that clip was from, when you're saying 20 years ago today we did our first Thursday 30. Well, I
Right.
can do the math and tell you
Right.
that puts that at September 2007.
Oh.
Like, so your own math is not working here. So you whatever that recording was from, and I know
Yeah.
you don't remember, it was not Spirit of Radio Sundays. It's too
Interesting.
early for that.
Yeah. I wonder where that would have been. Interesting. Yeah. Good question. Don't know. So this, I believe is from the Spirit of Radio Sunday show, 2014, 2015. But anyway, I think it was anniversary of the passing of Martin Streak, and I think we did a little feature, and I had some people say some things. And this is a clip from Don, who, of course, later, and I guess Don, it's been 5 years now for Don, 5.5, coming up on 6 years maybe.
On a side note there, so I mentioned off the top that no guest of Toronto Mike has passed away, and that is actually a fact. I never had Don Burns on the show, but because we're doing the 10 years of Humble and Fred, and I'm turning 10. My podcast turns 10 next August.
That's
so
awesome.
Humble and Fred are getting there first, because that's actually what inspired this show. So Humble and Fred, we were talking about guests. There are guests of Humble and Fred who have passed away, and sadly, one of them is Don Burns.
Right. Yep. So I think it's like around 5.5 years ago. But this is a great clip, and this is why we all miss Don so much. There's so many other reasons, but he's just his sense of humor, and he's just a great storyteller. But this is Don talking about going to the New Music Seminar in New York, which a lot of us at CFNY did, and where we picked up on new things and what was coming up next. And this is him talking about Martin Streak.
All right, the first thing you need to know is that Marty was a great guy to hang out with. Always had fun with him. Whether it was at the Road Show, which is where we first met when he was helping to run the CFNY Video Road Show, or it was at a club where he might be hanging out helping or DJing or hosting, or at the New Music Seminar in New York City where we all were. At the beginning of the rave era. Now you have to realize that Marty was there at the beginning of the rave era, and he was going to all the raves along with most of the other staff, and it was all because Chris Shepard was involved in the scene, and we all wanted to hang out and see what it was all about. So Marty was there too, and we all went to New York for the New Music Seminar, and raves were the big topic, and we were staying in some really neat hotel done by one of these fancy designers. And when you walked into the lobby washroom, it was all wall-to-wall chrome and mirrors everywhere. I remember having to go to the washroom while I was in the lobby of this hotel. I can't remember the name of it. I remember having to go to the washroom and walking in, and Marty standing at the urinal, his back to me, but his hands behind his head while he's peeing, and his junk on every mirror in the room as I walked in. It was like, I cannot escape this, even if I wanted to. I could not escape it. And he's just standing there, I've never seen anybody pee with his hands behind his head before. I know I certainly couldn't. But that's, for some weird, odd reason, when you mention Martin Streak's name, that's what comes to mind. I know, I'm a sick puppy. I have to go now and have my treatment.
Wow.
Yeah, and at that time they're talking about it had to be, I think, 1990, 1991. Actually, we're coming up on which, if you follow me, as I mentioned earlier, on Twitter and Facebook, and that'll be telling some of the stories of the Toronto rave scene, because we're coming up on 30 years when the scene started in Toronto. An incredible time in Toronto, the scene here, and there's so many great stories to tell. So that'll be coming up.
We do live in I know you don't technically live here, but you worked here for many years, and it is a damn cool city.
It is.
Right?
It is. It really is. A lot of cool shit has happened here and continues to happen here. It's really the people and in Southern Ontario, just the greater Toronto area. There's just a cool collective of people with some pretty good ears.
By the way, do we have any idea where Chris Shepard is?
Yeah, same thing. Still,
same update.
Costa Rica.
Still looking for that guy.
That's what we believe. Yeah.
All right.
And that's on good authority. But that's all I know.
Okay. Keep trying. Tell him we can even Zoom this sucker. People need to hear from the guy.
We all miss you, Chris. And geez, dude,
it's been a long time, man.
Just come and talk to us.
In fact, that's another reason you should listen to the most recent Mark Weisblad episode. He talks about Shepard. We played a clip of Shepard's last public anything, which was Humble and Fred show in 2014. 2014. Right. So we're talking 7 years.
Yeah. You know, when I run into Chris, he's going to kill me. He's going, dude, will you stop telling me everybody's coming down here looking for me.
I'm going to expense it. Like, it's going to be CRA, just so you know, this is a work trip. I got to go to Costa Rica and find Martin Streak here. I mean, I'm sorry, the late, great Martin Streak, no. But I wish. Chris Shepard, of course, is who we're hunting for, still with us.
I should mention very quickly that there is that documentary, the documentary on Martin Streak, his story, in and around it.
Be clear, because there's now 2 documentaries floating about.
So Will Dunlop is his name, and he's working on a documentary about Martin and his story. Yes.
Yeah, but he's been working on it for a long time.
Yes, that's true.
I'm starting to feel like Lucy with the football.
I know. I tried to get an update. I reached out to him. Actually sent him that clip that he can use. But I know he has other jobs and he's busy. But he sent me a bit of a sizzle reel that he had. It looked really good, and he's piecing it together. But, so it'll involve, obviously, CFNY will be part of it, but it's really Martin focused. Where the other documentary, just a quick update right now, is that...
this is the sanctioned one, right? Now we're talking about the Chorus-sanctioned CFNY documentary.
Yes. So that is, it's still happening, and, I'm involved, and Alan Cross is a big part of this. Ivor Hamilton's a big part of it, and we have a couple other people that know what they're doing when it comes to documentaries and stuff like that, and there's a lot of pieces to it, but funding's a big part of it, and so still in the funding process, and there's going to be the sort of sizzle reel or the demo reel that's being built right now. We have a lot of material, thanks to everybody who sent in photos and stories and video. That so it's going to take some time because it needs funding, and that's the process that it's going through right now.
And of course, because it's Chorus sanctioned, and they have editorial privilege or whatever the term is, you just got to hope it's objective. Because, especially when you're dealing with stuff like Marty Streak. Like I noticed when they did their memorial, which was very good. I know Robbie J worked very hard on it. It sounded very good. I recorded it. I think I still host it on one of the Toronto Mic servers here.
Yeah.
But it's convenient to skip the fact that Streak was fired 2 months before he took his own life.
Right.
Like it's easy to just skip that little detail.
Yeah, and I can't speak for the exact storyline, and it's part of that is you could go on for hours. It could be a series, right? But if you're doing a documentary and it's going to be 2 hours or 1 hour or whatever it's going to be, there's parts you have to cut. So I don't know if that will necessarily be it certainly won't be the focus of it. But yeah, should that be part of it? Absolutely. I really can't speak for the final cut. Don't know.
And this should be a mini series.
True. Yeah,
there's a lot here to cover here. Okay.
Yep.
We have a couple of audio IDs.
And I'm not sure that these might have been played before, but I just found these. I thought we'd play a couple of these. I think they're around mid 80s.
All right. Here's the Spirit of Radio ID.
FM 102. The Spirit of Radio.
And I think his name was Earl Mann, just super big voice. I preferred actually the IDs that ran, I think, more of the early 80s, and it was actually Don Burns was that voice you heard, the station voice guy.
Sure,
before he worked
guy,
there,
yeah.
he was the voice saying CFNY, the Spirit of Radio. I actually preferred his style and read than these ones, but these were around, I think, 85, 86.
Okay, here's the Thrill of Variety ID.
The thrill of variety, not the agony of repeats. FM 102.
The guy has some voice. I mean, he just...
that voice, whenever there's a similar voice I hear on, I think it's Flo, actually, I think has a similar voiceover guy. And I always think of Optimus Prime. Like, I think Peter Cullen is the guy who does Optimus Prime. And I always think, it's like if Peter Cullen were doing your IDs. Like, these are big voices.
They're big radio voices. Oh, yeah.
All right. And we have one more clip before we recognize another fallen soldier from the Spirit of Radio days. Set up, please, the Chrissie Hynde.
Oh yeah, so just I've forgotten about this. So this I just put this in there because of all the interviews that I did in my CFNY days. This was perhaps my favorite interview. It was just like some people are just oozing cool, and Chrissie Hynde of the Pretenders was that person in every which way. And it's one of those persons that when you're doing these interviews, often there's a sort of a handler or a record company person or something. Say, okay, you got 10 minutes. Okay, go in there now. And then you get in there and these people, and you think they're really mean. This person's going to be like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. Get out, And it's like, oh my God, I think we were like, an hour and a half or something. And she just went on and on.
Wow.
And it's just the stories. And she was just so cool.
Right.
And in every which way. But she has a fantastic history. Not only just that she was there when punk was happening, but this is a clip. She actually went to Kent State University, and those that are old enough to remember, there was some Vietnam protests at Kent State. I forget the year, and
well, you might know the Neil Young song.
Yeah, exactly, Ohio, and it got out of hand. The National Guard just ended up opening fire, and 4 people were killed. I think 16 were injured. And what I didn't know until I did my research, that she was attending Kent State. She was there at that time, and this is her talking about that.
Yeah, I was walking to class, and I was like standing there, and I heard these bangs. I guess everyone thought it was fireworks or something. And then I walked over the hill, and there was a hell of a scene. There was all these National Guardmen standing around what had been a building. It was just like a sort of, it was completely leveled anyway. In the middle of the afternoon, and they were just all standing around with rifles, loaded rifles. And then we realized that some people had been killed. Actually, I knew one of the guys. And they tried to get everyone off the campus. I mean, I actually had to be picked up and carried off because I just refused to walk away.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. And again, we've discussed some, as I mentioned, fallen soldiers. So Don Burns is no longer with us. Martin Streak is no longer with us. Yeah. There's others from the Spirit of Radio days who have passed on, but we lost somebody just in 2021.
Yeah, just recently, James Scott, whose real name David Marston. This is a bit of confusion for some people because there's David Marsden, but actually, David Marston, his on-air name, James Scott, was a stepbrother of David Marsden. But he had a long illness that he just succumbed to, and this is just like a month ago.
And just to help with that confusion, because I took me a while to grasp the story too, but David Marsden was put up for adoption, so like he was adopted.
Okay.
So that's why a mother had two sons named David.
Okay.
And then
so you know more than me. Okay,
Marsden,
good.
the name Marsden was really because David was changing his name and knew his because I believe the adopted name David had was McKee. And that's where Dave Mickey comes from. Okay,
Oh.
so McKee.
Very good.
And
Where
then
did you
for
get this? This is good. This is good.
His name is Mark Weisblatt. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So
There you go,
David
Mark.
Marsden was actually because David wasn't sure how Marston was spelled. So Marsden, and then the whole David Marston, who went by, of course, had to go by a different name, James Scott, because there was a David Marsden, and that's not gonna work on the radio. But yeah, they were brothers from the same mother, but David Marsden was adopted.
Interesting. Okay. I did not know that.
And I will say, if you could share some thoughts on James Scott, I know that his daughter is listening right now, because when Mark Weisblatt and I memorialized James Baby Scott, I got the loveliest note from her, and she was
nice.
just really wanting to absorb everything she could. So if anything you could share now, I know she would appreciate it.
That's cool, and she's shared some video and some material for the upcoming documentary. So she's
and her name, she's in Calgary because I've been chatting her up. Ali Mars, so she's kind of changed that last name to Mars with a Z.
Yeah, and I think do you have this? I think this is a clip of audio of just for those that may or may not remember the voice of James Scott. Great voice. Although this audio may not, be up to par, but
here we go.
This is one of the most talked about groups in the music industry today, and from FM 102 on the 4 o'clock Modern Rock Preview, that's 13 Engines. John Critchley, Mike Robbins, Jim Hughes, and Grant Ethier are the nucleus of 13 Engines, and it formed when John and Mike met while attending York University here in Toronto. In the spring of 1985, they formed their first band, known as the Icons, and did a couple of years of playing at clubs all over Toronto.
great voice, great guy.
No, I've only heard great things. But so remind us, what years did you work with James Scott?
Oh, so I was there 84 and to 92, and he was definitely there in 84. But I just don't remember when he departed, and I'm gonna guess around 87.
Well,
but not sure.
13 Engines, I feel, helps us a bit. Were they? Maybe I'm wrong. Again, I was a little bit younger in 87, but were they doing stuff in 87? I guess
maybe.
Okay.
Perhaps.
I'm listening to that clip and I'm realizing I need 13 Engines on Toronto Mike. Like, this is where my brain goes.
There you go. Helping out anytime.
You're helping anytime. But James Scott passed away, and our sincere condolences to his brother David and his daughter and everyone who knew him and loved him. Just sad to hear that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are all the clips I have.
Scott, I think it should definitely be, and I think it actually is, if I look at the schedules, but it should be an annual event, like you in the backyard.
Sure.
You get a whole year to collect new audio to present, because that was awesome.
Thank you. It's fun. It was fun. It's good to share that stuff. You're like, what am I going to do with this stuff? So I know. Toronto might.
So now you have a year to collect more rare audio, so you can come back and share it all next year. And
absolutely. See you next year.
Continued good health. I'm glad the surgery went well and that your
it was a scary one.
Cholesterol level is down below 2.
Yeah. Let's hope.
And that brings us to the end of our 930th show. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Toronto Mike. Scott is at Scott Turner. But remember, there's only one T in Scott. Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery are at Great Lakes Beer. Chef Drop is at Get Chef Drop. Use the promo code FOTMBOGO to buy one, get one 50% off. McKay CEO Forums is at McKay CEO Forums. Palma Pasta is at Palma Pasta. I got to get that lasagna out of the freezer for you. Sticker U is at Sticker U. Ridley Funeral Home is at Ridley FH. And Mike Majeski of Remax Specialists Majeski Group. He's on Instagram at Majeski Group Homes. Scott, it's literally hot now. Like I'm in a t-shirt and short, and I'm hot.
Incredible.
What a day.
It's beautiful.
See you all next week.
This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.